Hello everyone, and welcome to this year's last edition of WorldView. My name is Fred.
And my name is Anna. The big story in the news this week was about a dissident in China. The Chinese lawyer Chen Guangcheng, who had been under house arrest for accusing China of human rights violations, escaped to the United States Embassy this week. Until today, Americans were holding him in the embassy, which upset Chinese officials because they feared the bad publicity today. Chan was sent to a hospital in Peking when he became ill. His fate is now uncertain since he is no longer under U.S. protection.
Saudi Arabia has closed its embassy and recalled their ambassador in Cairo, Egypt. This move was made because of the ongoing protests, which started because an Egyptian lawyer was arrested in Saudi Arabia for speaking unfavorably about the king. The Egyptians want the ambassador to return to fix the relationship between the two countries, which have been long allies.
A woman in Istanbul, Turkey, has been on the run from her husband for 15 years. She is a mother of two and was first abused by her husband when she was 14. After she left him, he tracked her down and shot her in the leg 6 times after she refused to return home. The woman then ran to the police station for help, and shortly after, her husband arrived. She overheard the police telling her husband to break both of her legs so she could not escape again. Women's rights in Turkey are at an all-time low. Last year, there were over 207,000 cases of abuse against women.
After months of conflict about Iran's nuclear program, many American officials now believe that the change of a military conflict has significantly decreased. One reason for this is Iran has become more open and more flexible about negotiations. Israel has been encouraging the United States to move more aggressively toward Iran, one of Israel's most vocal enemies. But the U.S. has said no because it does not want to become involved in another conflict in the Middle East.
2 Taliban insurgents were able to pass through a full body scanner at the governor's residence in Kandahar, Afghanistan. They were armed with pistols hidden in their shoes and almost succeeded in killing the governor. They reached the door of the governor's office before being shot by guards. The governor managed to escape unharmed. 2 of his guards were shot and killed in the assault.
There is still fighting in the streets of Syria between the military and the rebels who are trying to end President Assad's dictatorship. Fighting has come on for over a year and has caused thousands of deaths. The world is nothing but seems unable to help the Syrian people. Many experts believe that if fighting continues much longer, a full-fledged civil war will break out and Syria will become a nurturing ground for terrorists.
The ongoing conflict in Africa between Sudan and South Sudan has affected thousands of Sudanese refugees who are desperate for water and are facing disease. As South Sudan and Sudan continue to fight over border and oil issues, 37,000 refugees are close to dying. The head of Oxfam's operation said there is simply not enough groundwater available to sustain the growing number of people who need it.
Approximately 100 American elite special forces have been deployed to the Central African Republic to look for Joseph Kony, the rebel leader whose army is composed primarily of child soldiers. The main obstacle for these soldiers is the terrain. The jungle is about the size of California, and most of the search technology that we have does not work in that environment.
The 2012 Summer Olympic Games are being held in London, England. Since terrorism is becoming more and more frequent, London has to worry about the security of the Olympic athletes. Military planners at the Ministry of Defense have chosen to place anti-ballistic missiles on rooftops of buildings around the areas where the games will be held. Officials say the missiles are going to be a last resort in the case of an emergency.
This week, in addition to the violence coming out of the Middle East, there is also art. In England, Shakespeare's play Romeo and Juliet was presented, but instead of the Montagues and the Capulets, there were also the Sunnis and the Shiites. This adapted production was also presented in Iraq, but instead of the Capulets and the Montagues, the families became Iraq and Iran during the Iraq and Iran War. Because of this play, the director was forced to leave Iraq. Ruthie has our sports news.
Hi everyone! This was the last week of Summit Sports, and everyone ended on a great note. Baseball had a very good season of 11-5. Golf had a record of 12-1. Track and field won 4 meets. Soccer was 6-4. Tennis was 8-3. Boys lacrosse was 13-1 and has a home game today at 5:15 against Ravenscroft. Girls lacrosse had a record of 12-3-1 and also has a home game today at 4:15 against Ravenscroft. The sports awards will be held today at 2:30 on the dot. So everyone make sure you are in the theater on time. And congratulations to every team for such a great season and a great year. Josh has our weather.
Hello everyone, I'm your WorldView forecaster for this weekend. As everyone knows, it's time for May Frolics, and not only is that good news, but also temperatures will be in the high 80s with little chance of rain. This weekend doesn't have weather as good. There will be thunderstorms with temperatures in the 80s. This week we visit my hometown of Boise, Idaho.
Go Broncos! Go Broncos! Yeah!
Boise will have temperatures in the high 50s with thunderstorms. For my last ever forecast, we will look at weather in 2 different climates. In Anchorage, they will have rain with highs in the 40s, and in Panama City, Panama, they will have thunderstorms with highs in the 90s. I'm Josh, signing off for the very last time. I hope you enjoyed the weather segment this year.
Thanks to Josh, and thanks to everyone who contributed to WorldView this year. Goodbye and have a great summer.
So long, and tune in next year with new 9th grade world history class will present world news. Goodbye, everyone.